Okay, guys, so why in the world are you buying pos-het axanthic animals? Is that a good idea? Is it a bad idea? What are the benefits? What's the pros, the cons? Let's dig into it right now. Hey guys, what's going on? Will here, Flawless Crested Geckos, coming to you guys with yet again another video. And this kind of was common sense to us, but again, it's not for everyone, and we get that. So we want to put out the content so that everybody can kind of be on the same page and be able to absorb the information that we put out. Again, this is how we apply it to our business plan and what we're doing with Flawless, and hopefully everyone receives the information well. Hopefully it doesn't put anyone off in a negative situation or a negative light. But this is the simple basics when it comes to kind of even with a niche hobby like Crested Geckos, but with business. We actually got a message in Instagram. We've been really pushing it. By the way, check us out. This week we got a nice drop. One of our biggest sales of the year. We only do 2 sales for the entire year. We do Black Friday and we do our Beat the Heat sale. So this Friday, definitely want to come over to flawlesscrestedgeckos.com. Check it out. We're going to have 100, maybe over 100 Crested Geckos at an extreme discount. So you're going to want to check it out. We're still shipping. We're going to get it all out to you, hopefully, if we're not too overwhelmed next week. But get there and get there fast on Friday. 8 p.m. is going to be live, hitting the World Wide Web. And a lot of those geckos we do not have doubles of. And some of it actually we're kind of talking about in this video here. So make sure you're over there, hit your reminder in your phone, put it in your calendar to definitely check the website out for the new gecko drop. Big sale, Beat the Heat. But let's talk on this topic. We got a question as far as on buying pos-hets. Is it worth it to still be buying pos-hets in 2025? What's the benefits? What's the cons against it? And has anything changed since the discovery of Axanthics? And our answer is yes. There's a lot of things that's changed from the initial discovery of the Axanthics and the different lines of Axanthic. And number one is when we go into business and we talk business, it's kind of beating a dead horse because we always drive it home about supply and demand, and that applies in this situation as well. So as we were telling our follower on Instagram, the same exact thing we're going to put out on a video for everyone to absorb is a lot has changed. You go into any field you go in. Now, what I'll say, I'll prefix and put a disclaimer out there. Crested Geckos, this is a luxury as far as no one is going to be sitting here picking Crested Geckos over putting food on their table. So we get that completely. But by it being a niche, you still have a ton of people in this lane, in this category. So of the people that are still shopping in this category, and we've seen a huge surge recently, but those people are going to be looking for specific projects or specific things that they want to work with. Now, when Axanthics was first discovered and started being, created, being produced, the supply was slim. They weren't everywhere you can go. So supply was low, demand was high. Now that doesn't happen normally. There's probably a ton of different, morphs and genes that we've never even heard of because they ended up in a pet store or they ended up in a keeper's collection where maybe they don't do any social media and you never hear anything else about it, period. We see a lot of stories that hit Instagram that may be, the fad or whatever it may be, but you never really hear anything happening with some of these genes because they don't end up in an actual breeder's hands or a reliable breeder's hands that's actually going to produce and do something with the gene and put it out there or put it out on social media. I was just talking to Audra the other day. I said, you know what? I can't tell you the last time I picked up a newspaper, and that was big for my grandparents, 2 generations back. They would get the newspaper every single day. So the process in which we absorb information has changed over the years, and it will continue to change with the TikTok, the Instagram, the YouTube, everything. So we're all moving with the times. That being said, there's going to be a lot of genes out there that fly under the radar. No one will ever hear of them, and they'll just kind of be created and disappear and be gone. Back to Axanthics, supply was low. They put it out on the web, marketed it, showed it off. People gravitated toward it. People grew a liking for it, and the demand grew for it before the supply grew. Then by being recessive, you creating HETs and HETs being sold, and breeding HETs to HETs, producing visual and pos HETs. All this stuff comes about, and now we're at the point we are now. Now, demand is still relatively high on Axanthics, but the supply is no longer low across the board. Now, we always are pretty low on supply. We sell a lot of visual Axanthics. We sell a lot of HETs. We are going to have some HETs, I believe, and some pos HETs this Friday. But is it worth it to still be buying pos HETs? And we say yes. So the answer is yes, it's still worth it, but how you apply it. Now, back when, and this is the big but, back when Axanthics really first started hitting the market and you started getting your hands on a HET and pos HETs, now there was a surcharge for pos HETs at that particular time. Now some people say, oh, if it's just pos HET, it's just a regular gecko, you should pay a regular price. And no, we don't agree with that. Not initially at that point. At that point, when you have supply so low and you're rolling the dice and you may get, a HET, you may get the gene that you're looking for, you may not. We don't think it should have been at the price of an actual 100% HET, but somewhere in between that 100% HET and it being a normal or whatever combination it was, the price should be somewhere in there, somewhere enticing enough to get someone to want to take a chance on buying a pos HET in a low supply industry economy at that time to hopefully gain the benefit of winning with their choice. Now, in this present day, in 2025, why would you go out and buy a 50% or 66% pos HET? Are you guys needing some assistance with your crested gecko breeding programs? Well, check out our Patreon. We've been running it here now for pretty much close to 2 years. Everyone's been extremely excited. We keep adding new perks every time you guys turn around. We give away Axanthics, we give away high whites, we give away lily whites. We actually upgraded this year to we're giving away over 12 geckos every single year. That averages out to at least a gecko a month, and we've been doing over that. So you are not going to want to miss becoming a part of the Flawless Crested Geckos Patreon family. There's 2 tiers. There's a $50 tier and there's a $100 tier. You get all your funds back in the form of Flawless Crested Gecko savings account. You can take advantage of having 5% additional off by being a Patreon member, as well as having year-round free shipping. You guys are not going to want to miss this, so go head over to patreon.com/Flawless Crested Geckos. Well, you would go out and buy that because it fits into a project that you're working. Maybe you're not worried about it being HET at all. Maybe you're chasing whatever the genes that come with that combination. Or, like I said, maybe you are going to take the gamble. But now in this present day, you can't surcharge pretty much at all because now the supply on pos HETs are up. The supply is up. The demand is so it's all kind of evened out, leveled out, which means if you have a Harlequin that's $200 and you have a Harlequin that's 50%, 66% HET Axanthic, that price is probably going to be $200 as well. Same price. You can't necessarily charge in this day and age right now in 2025 because, again, supply is not low across the board. Demand has dropped across the board. Therefore, you cannot charge for something that someone is potentially getting. So hopefully you get the kind of correlation between supply being low and now supply being abundant, and how the price does fluctuate and how you can reap the benefits now as well as reap the benefits then. So it all makes sense in the business world that we're in. And again, if you guys heard this before, it's because we preach it all the time. It is a simple supply and demand when it comes to even this niche. So while we're at that point, let's show you guys some stuff that we, even now at our stage, nine years in, still holding back pos hats to work projects, and we'll tell you why. So check that little one out, and we're gonna do them brief because I'm sure this little one has a diamond series coming up. But what you're looking at is a soft scale, empty back, 50% het for Axanthic. This is a boy we have growing up, but obviously this will be in that empty back project. Then we have this little buddy, tricolor lily white. That's also 50% het for Axanthic. Definitely want to get that into that tricolor project and see what we can do with that. And then we have this girl who's got some size to her. We're holding her back, and again, this is just one of the ones we're going to hold back and hopefully work that that olive base tone, and she just happens to also be 50% het Axanthic. So she's cool because again, we haven't done the diamond series on her yet, but she's not even being worked into the Axanthic project. So for us here is irrelevant, but she's going to add to other projects as we move forward. So again, that was just a short little rundown on a couple little geckos that we have going around in our facility, in our projects, and we have a ton more that, again, sometimes we're not even worried about them being het Axanthic. We're working different things. One was in shed. We have 2 or 3 in the porthole project that are also 66% het for Axanthic, that we're trying to push those into the Axanthic projects, where hopefully, I don't know, a couple years down the road, we can work and have some dark based visual Axanthics with some super bright white portholes on the side, like our red porthole project. Again, just trying to stretch out the vision on seeing what we can do with other genes, not just kind of just harping on Axanthic or cappuccino or just sable. We have all of these genes, and we want to kind of just be creative and see what we want to create with them. Which brings us back to the topic on, you know, hey, is it worth it to buy pos hats? And we say yes, it's worth it to buy pos hats. We don't think that you can really tax anyone, is what we call tax anyone for them being pos hats. We did feel that that does suffice when you have early stages in a project or program. Look at Chocho, perfect example, great project. We're not into it just yet. We got some things rolling down the pipe on that, but I mean, you can go out there, you can get, you know, a Chocho for 30 grand or 15 grand and, you know, grow it out and do that. I can promise you, if you had somebody selling, you know, a reliable breeder selling, you know, 50% or 66% het, you know, Chochos for, you know, $2,000, they're going to sell. They are going to sell. And I don't care if you have a red base, yellow, a lily white's going to be more, but I don't care if you have these other genes in them, they're going to sell at those price tags. Now, again, this is earlier stages of that project, which means if this was 10 years from now, 5 years from now, and, you know, the supply is abundant, then now you'll only be able to sell those pos hats for whatever the base combinations of what you know is in those Crested geckos are going to sell for at that current moment. So hopefully a video like this helps you guys in your planning on what you want to purchase, what you want to hold back, especially if you have an Axanthic project you're working. Don't kind of bottleneck yourself into just creating and replicating Axanthic. We're trying to do so many different things with our Axanthic project, as well as other projects. We want those projects to excel as well. Anyway, it's Will. Hit that subscribe button. Flawless Crested Geckos, and we out.